Most people have a completely wrong idea about what sales psychology actually is. They think it's about tricks, manipulation, hidden persuasion tactics designed to make people buy things that they don't want or need. And honestly, that reputation didn't come from nowhere. There are plenty of salespeople out there who have used psychological principles in ways that are genuinely exploitative. But here's the thing, and this is what today's video is really about. When you actually understand sales psychology at a deep level, you realize that the most powerful application of it is completely the opposite of manipulation. It's about understanding people so well that you can genuinely serve them better. That shift in perspective changes everything about how you sell and how you feel about selling. So today, we're going to go deep into sales psychology from an ethical standpoint. We're going to cover why people actually buy things, the 6 core psychological principles that drive purchasing decisions, how trust completely overrides persuasion, emotional intelligence, and why it matters more than any technique you could ever learn, and how to handle pricing objections in ways that actually build relationships instead of destroying them. This is going to be a thorough breakdown, so let's get into it. Let's start with the most fundamental insight in all of sales psychology, and this one will reframe everything else we talk about today. People do not buy products or services. They buy solutions to problems and fulfillments to their desires. That seems simple, but think about what that actually means. Because when someone buys a gym membership, they're not buying access to equipment. They're buying the feeling of being healthier, more confident, and more energetic. When someone buys an expensive software tool, they're not buying the code. They're buying time saved, stress reduced, and results improved. Now, understanding that distinction is the starting point of everything. And here's the second layer of that insight. Purchasing decisions are driven by emotion first and then justified by logic afterward. This is backed by decades of psychological research. People feel their way to a decision and then construct rational arguments to support what they already emotionally want. This doesn't mean that logic doesn't matter. It does, because it helps people feel confident about decisions that they've already emotionally made. But if you lead purely with logic and skip the emotional connection, you're fighting against how human decision-making actually works. Now let's talk about the 6 psychological principles that are at the core of ethical sales psychology. The first is reciprocity. When you genuinely help someone without any expectation attached, something interesting happens in their psychology. They naturally feel inclined to give something back. In sales, this looks like providing real upfront value, sharing an insight that solves a problem for someone before asking for anything in return, or simply listening deeply when others rush to pitch. The critical word here is genuine. Manufactured helplessness designed to trigger obligation is manipulation. Real helpfulness creates goodwill that's a completely different thing. The second principle is social proof. Humans are wired to look at what others are doing to guide their own decisions. This is deeply instinctive. When we're uncertain, we look for signals from people in similar situations. Ethical social proof means sharing honest testimonials, real case studies, and genuine success stories. It means helping prospects to see how people just like them have been served well, not fabricating consensus or cherry-picking misleading examples. Third is authority. When you position yourself as someone who genuinely knows what they're talking about, trust builds naturally. But true authority is earned through consistent learning, transparent communication, and intellectual honesty. That includes being honest about what you don't know. Counterintuitively, admitting the limits of your knowledge often increases your perceived credibility because it signals that you aren't just telling people what they want to hear. Fourth is scarcity. This one gets misused more than any other principle. You've seen it, the fake countdown timers, manufactured limited availability, but real scarcity is a legitimate and helpful signal. If something genuinely is limited, communicating that clearly helps buyers to make informed decisions rather than procrastinating on choices that actually matter to them. The ethical line here is simple. Is it real? If yes, say so. If not, don't manufacture it. Fifth is liking. People buy from people that they like and trust. Building authentic rapport means genuinely caring about someone's situation, being naturally personable, and finding real common ground. Not performing warmth, but actually being interested in who you're talking to and what they're dealing with. This cannot be faked effectively over the long term, and honestly, you shouldn't want to fake that anyway. The sixth principle is commitment and consistency. Once someone makes a small, genuine step towards a goal, their psychology naturally tends toward following through. Ethically, this means helping people to take small, real steps that align with their actual goals, not engineering artificial commitment chains designed to trap people into decisions that don't serve them. Now let's go deeper into buyer motivations because this is where things really get nuanced. There are essentially two primary motivational forces driving most purchasing decisions, and those are moving towards something desirable or moving away from something painful. Here's what the research tells us though. The fear of losing something is consistently more powerful than the prospect of gaining something. Loss aversion is one of the most robust findings in behavioral psychology. Understanding which force is dominant for a specific buyer lets you communicate in a way that genuinely resonates with how they're actually feeling about their situation. Beyond that, buyers have genuinely different purchasing styles. Some people are highly analytical. They need data, comparisons, and evidence. Skipping straight to the emotional storytelling with this type of buyer may lose them completely. Others are emotionally driven and respond far more powerfully to stories and vision than spreadsheets and statistics. Some buyers need social validation before they can feel comfortable making a decision. Others are independent thinkers who actively resist external pressure and need to feel like the decision is entirely their own. Adapting your approach to match the buyer's actual style rather than defaulting to your own preferred communication style is a sign of genuine sales intelligence. Trust is the foundation that makes everything else work. And this is worth saying very directly because it runs counter to a lot of traditional sales thinking. Research consistently shows that buyers are more influenced by salespeople that they trust than salespeople who are more technically persuasive. Trust beats technique every single time over any significant time horizon. Trust is built through four things: consistency, which means doing what you said you would do every time; transparency, which means you're honest about your limitations and alternatives, even when that honesty might cost you a sale. Empathy, which is actually understanding and caring about what the buyer is going through, and competence, demonstrating that you genuinely know what you're talking about. When all four of those are present, the sales relationship becomes something entirely different. It becomes advisory. The buyer treats you as someone helping them to navigate a decision rather than someone who is trying to extract money from them. Let's talk about emotional intelligence, because this might be the single most important capability in sales, and it almost never gets discussed properly. High emotional intelligence in sales has four components: self-awareness, knowing how your own emotional state is affecting your communication and behavior; self-regulation, managing that emotional state, especially when conversations get difficult or pressure mounts; empathy, which is accurately reading the emotional state of the person you're talking to and responding appropriately rather than just waiting for your turn to speak; and social skills, the ability to build genuine connections and navigate complex interpersonal dynamics. The salespeople who consistently outperform everyone else over long periods of time aren't the ones with the most aggressive closing techniques. They are the ones who can read what's actually happening in a conversation, adapt that in real time, and make people feel genuinely understood. Communication in sales is where all of this comes to life practically. Most salespeople talk too much. Seriously, the ratio of talking to listening in the average sales conversation is completely backwards. Active listening, genuinely trying to understand rather than just waiting to respond, is one of the most underused and most powerful tools available. Pair that with powerful questions that help your prospect think through their own situation and arrive at their own clarity, and you're doing something completely different from traditional selling. Storytelling matters enormously here too. A well-told story that illustrates a real outcome is orders of magnitude more persuasive than a list of statistics. And the reason is because stories create emotional resonance. And emotional resonance is what moves people to action. On objections, there's a perspective shift worth sitting with. Objections are not obstacles to overcome. They're signals of something deeper that hasn't been addressed yet. When you handle an objection by truly listening, genuinely acknowledging the concern, exploring the real underlying issue, and responding with complete honesty, something changes in the dynamic. The conversation deepens, and sometimes the most trust-building thing that you can do is agree with the objection. If someone says this isn't the right fit for me, and they're correct, then telling them so honestly creates more long-term relationship value than pushing through a sale that wasn't right for them. Pricing psychology is the final piece to cover today. Price is never just a number. It's always perceived in context. Anchoring, value framing, and how payment structures are presented all shape how a price feels to a buyer. Ethical pricing psychology means using these principles to help buyers understand the real value of what they're considering, not to obscure cost or manipulate perception. The overarching message of everything we've covered today is this: sales psychology isn't a toolkit for manipulation. At its best, it's a framework for understanding human beings well enough to genuinely serve them. The salespeople who build the best careers, the most sustainable businesses, and the deepest relationships are the ones who combine real psychological understanding with authentic care for the people that they are working with. That combination is genuinely powerful, and it feels good to sell that way. If this resonated with you, drop a comment below and let me know which principle hit the hardest. And if you want to go deeper in these areas, I'll be covering each one in more detail in upcoming videos. In the meantime, check out the description where I will give you a free video that explains how I spent years studying psychology in great detail in college and also with many copywriting techniques, and find out how you can understand the real psychology of what is behind all of these decisions. So check the description now and go watch that free video, and I will see you in the next one.